Hello, this is Lauren Evers. I'm here today to do a distinguished teacher interview. This interview is part of my class for post-secondary teaching in the seminar that I'm taking this spring. The person that I have chosen to interview is Professor Philip Frazier. He's an adjunct professor at Bethel University. The first question, how important is your self-image to your role as a teacher? Professor Phil told me that he has had many jobs in his career path. He's been a pastor, a teacher, a professor. All along, though, he's kind of been an education professional. He told me that he doesn't define himself by his job. He takes the responsibility of teaching very highly. Teaching is very important to him, and he strives to be the best professor that he can for all of his students. The next question was, what are your most distinctive teaching methods? Professor Phil divided this up into the type of audience that he's teaching. He told me that in graduate school, he relies mostly on seminar-type teaching. This would be teaching that's defined by lecture, dialogue, and discussion. Very interactive, and it takes a lot of interaction between himself and the students. In undergraduate classes, though, he relies more on small groups working together. His lectures are generally pretty short, 15 minutes or so, and he starts to get some interactivity going between the people in the class. I actually noticed this in his class that I'm observing. It's an undergraduate general communication class, and he does keep his lectures quite short, and then we'll break the students into small groups so that they can continue working together. He told me that the lower level classes seem to rely more upon the lecture, simply because it's a little more difficult to get their interactivity out of them. I then asked Professor Frazier, where or from whom did you learn to teach, and how were you influenced, and who were these influences? He told me that he started teaching at a very early age, actually 15. At 15, he said that he was teaching Sunday school. So that's a pretty good early start. He told me about his career, and he's had really two main role models. In college, he had an English teacher that he said showed him it's okay to be tough. And then in seminary, he had a Bible or theology teacher that taught him to be relaxed. He told me that the teacher sets the atmosphere, and relaxed is best. Not relaxed meaning apathetic, but he said that you can be relaxed and in control, and that's generally when you really understand and know your material. So I asked him, do your teaching methods differ from that of most teachers, and if so, how? Professor Phil told me that he does believe his teaching methods differ quite a bit from other teachers. A lot of them, he said, rely strictly upon the lecture alone, and he really doesn't want to just rely on the lectures. Again, he told me that the method varies with the target audience. And again, with the undergraduates, he follows the lecture test method. But with graduate school students, he prefers more of the seminar type of learning. But he does say that regardless of the audience, the learning must be interactive. And of course, this isn't easy. Making your class interactive is hard work, and it takes quite a bit of planning to make it happen. So Professor Phil does see himself being different from other teachers, because a lot of the other teachers, as I said, seem to rely on the lecture, and they don't have as much interactivity or student participation. My last question for Professor Phil was, what advice would you give to a beginning college level teacher? This was actually my favorite question, and I really liked the answer for it. He said that, first of all, you need to know your material. You need to know it cold. You need to really understand what you're teaching. And that comes back to the being relaxed part. He said, if you know your material, you will be relaxed. Secondly, he said that you have to understand the level of the students. And we discussed that a little bit earlier in the interview about the graduate level students versus the undergrad students, and the type of teaching method that you would use depending upon the level of the students. Thirdly, he said that you must be in charge. And that goes back to, as we had talked about, being relaxed is an important characteristic for Professor Phil, but also being in charge. You are the teacher, and you have to have control of the classroom at all times. Next, he said that, you must adapt your method to the material and the audience. That goes back a little bit to knowing the level of the students and keeping the interactivity during those teaching episodes, those teaching methods. The final thing that he talked about with me was that we really need to use an I-thou relationship with the students. Many times, he said, in academia, he sees the relationship between this teacher and the students being an I-it relationship. And this goes right back to our studies that we did with Buber. And the I-thou relationship is actually the best one from a Christian perspective, as well as just treating people the way they should be treated. So this concluded my interview with Professor Phil, and I really enjoyed doing it, and I think I learned quite a bit about teaching and some of the expectations by talking with him. This class was required that we should interview a very experienced teacher, and Professor Phil is quite experienced. He's been doing this for many years, and I'm really glad that I did interview somebody with that much experience, because he was able to give me quite a bit of understanding into the way teaching really happens. I hope you enjoyed this short interview. Thank you very much.